Welcome to comparing Gran Turismo Sport's replayability to other games. I figured the most fair comparison to GT Sport would be what a lot of fans think is the best Gran Turismo of all time, Gran Turismo 4. And sorry I don't exactly have a better setup for this. This TV's from older than 1987. And if I pull this controller any more down, everything will collapse. But I do get to do this. And this. Those don't open. So yeah, I guess it does have that going for it. And one of the things that Gran Turismo 4 has going for it, because I'm talking about the replayability, we're not really factoring in online, is that even without online, I think it can actually still go online in the most primitive way possible. As far as I can remember, if you set up your own local server, I've never done this before and I don't know much about it, but even if there ain't online, you can set up your own local server and play with some people around you. I don't really know how that works in particular, but yeah, that's a GT Sport, or 4 Plus that GT Sport probably ain't gonna have, is even if online ends, you can still play a sort of primitive way of online. And another plus for GT4 is the pretty cotton-picking awesome menu music. I hope GT Sport has pretty cotton-picking awesome menu music. And another thing that's a plus for GT4, that's coming up quicker than Lickety Split here, is the way the cars are set up. The cars are set up nice and uniquely here, where you can pick your own favorites, which I think you can actually do in 5 and maybe 6, I can't remember, I didn't really use it. And you can go to a lot of other areas and stuff too. It sort of just adds depth to the game without actually adding anything more to the game. It just sort of looks cooler. And to the next thing that also makes the game cooler is, in GT4 you can have a whole heck of a heap more difficulty levels than just beginner, intermediate, and advanced. With having all of those different levels, you can set the competition to a lot more ways, and therefore have more fun offline. Depending on how good of a driver you are, there's a whole heck of a heap more choices you can make here than just 3. This has, I guess, 21, I guess? Negative 10 to 1, 1 to 10, and then also 0, so yeah, I guess 21. Compared to the usual 3, which is 7 times more choices GT4 has where you can race against the AI than GT5 and 6, and probably Sport, honestly. I really don't think they'd have this. And another side note is GT4, you can set up your car, whether you want, like, active steering and skid recovery force and TSS and all that stuff, on the same menus you can do your difficulty in GT4, which I like, so you don't have to double down on clicking on menus. In 5 and 6, if you take, like, a charity car in, it automatically has traction control, and then you have to go to one menu to set up the race and then another menu to turn that off. This, you can do everything at once, which is pretty cool. And then another thing that I'll go to here that GT4 has an advantage on that I really don't think Sport is going to have is the way that the campaign is set up, which will factor into the replayability, because as far as I know, Sport's campaign will be offline, or at least have offline parts. The GT4 one is set up pretty much perfectly. It has the usual beginner, intermediate, advanced level races, or I think this calls it like extreme or something. But now another thing that this has too is the individual dealership races. Like, you can go into Dodge in this and they have their own races. Which I don't know of any other racing game that actually has something like this. And that's pretty cop-picking cool, folks. That's pretty cop-picking cool. And that's one of those nostalgia type things that I know isn't really all that much of a usable feature, because really it's just more races against cars that are sort of like the others, which you can sort of do in arcade mode anyway. But still, just the fact of the way they word it and make it done, it just makes it all that much better and cooler. I know that is sort of kind of nostalgia, but I mean, yeah. I hope GT Sport does that the way GT4 does it too. There, I had to throw that in there. That was half the reason I picked GT4 to do this video, and the other half being GT5 doesn't have that, does it? But anyway, that's pretty much GT4 for you. It's older, yeah, but that's really about the only downside. Of course, GT Sport will win on the graphics side, the physics side, and all that. But GT4 has incredible menu music that, as far as I know, is copyright free. I think it's Gran Turismo did this music, so I don't think I'm going to get sued for it. And it just has everything formatted in about the best way possible. So if GT Sport were to have it this way, that would definitely help. But as I showed in the previous videos, there's still a whole heck of a heap of good ways that GT Sport has stuff set up too. So I think if it combines some of the menu music from 4 with some of the extra stuff, such as the manufacturer races and stuff, with some of the stuff they already have in place, or at least what we've seen so far in the beta, like their menus and stuff, maybe, just maybe, they could create a better replayability experience in any other game there is. But the main reason I'm doing this video is because of the future. Obviously, we don't know what the replayability is because we don't even know what the playability is yet. But that's part of the fun of doing this video, is to guesstimate and see how accurate it ends up being. Maybe I'll be completely wrong and GT Sport has the best replayability of any game ever. But unless they do sort of add, like I said previously, of having sort of GT4 style feel to it, but with new additions, it probably honestly ain't going to be all that good, given that I think the main focus of the game is going to be online based. But we'll just have to see, folks. We'll just have to see. And, well, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I know it ain't the highest quality, but, I mean, there ain't all that much I can do. And, well, hopefully y'all learned something from this, and we'll see how accurate this ends up in the future. And, as always, yeehaw!